you ever walked into the car lot, found the car of your dreams, sat down to talk to the car salesperson, and all of a sudden you heard comments like, you don't need a pre-purchase inspection, we do a 100-point inspection ourselves and they're certified as good to go. Or we need to run a credit application before we take this vehicle out for a test drive, that's just a policy. Or, yeah, there's just a small AMVIC fee, glass etching as well as paint protection film, we put it on all our cars, sorry, it's best for the vehicle and it's best for you. Or yes, we provide in-house financing. You can get this rate, but you can get this rate if you get the extended warranty. These are all major red flags. If you've heard some of these comments when you're dealing with your car dealer and you're making your next purchase, be cautious and actually be prepared to run, because most of these comments actually have underlying agendas and you don't want to walk away, you want to run away. So let's take this from the top, and you find that beautiful pre-owned vehicle that's on this car lot. It's 3 years old, has about 50,000 miles on it. It seems to drive okay, everything feels good, but you don't really know what's going on under the skin. And you ask the dealer, can I actually take this car out for a pre-purchase inspection? And then they pump the brakes and tell you probably don't really need that anyway. We have some of the best factory trained certified technicians back there. Give this vehicle a full 100-point look over. If anything's not right, they make it right. If anything's outside of spec, they replace it like brakes and tires. The car is good to go. Every one of our vehicles goes through a stringent inspection. You don't need to go and do a pre-purchase inspection. We've taken care of that for you. We'll give you that checklist. Whoa, red flag right there. If they don't want to let you take your vehicle out for a pre-purchase inspection, that's a huge flag. They're clearly hiding something. If they were willing to stand behind that vehicle at any point, at any cost, they'd be willing to let you drive away with it. Certainly to another dealer, at the very least another certified factory type dealer. Say for example, a Toyota, and you wanted to take it to another independent Toyota dealer, that should be no problem and they should have no issue with that. But if they're putting up fronts, putting up barriers, that usually means they're hiding something, they haven't done the full inspection, maybe there's something underneath the skin that they don't want you to necessarily see, and that is clearly a huge red flag. Any reputable dealer that stands behind their product on a used car market should clearly have no issues with you taking that car for a pre-purchase inspection somewhere else. It's a peace of mind. You could put down $20, $30, $50, $80,000 on a car, used car even for that matter, and you want to go out there without even having it checked over? Yeah, and that piece of paper that they promise you that there's a checklist, most of the time that's pencil whipped. I've seen errors, I've seen mistakes. They get the square box, there's a million check marks. It doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, take it all with a grain of salt, and honestly, if you're not feeling good about the deal, just go somewhere else. Another huge red flag is if they tie your financing and the rate that you're going to get through the dealer directly to the fact whether you buy or whether you don't buy an extended warranty. It should be totally independent. If they offer you up and say, look, we can give you 9% finance rate if you take the CPO warranty or the additional warranty that we can offer you, but if you don't take the warranty, really all we can do is about 11.5%. Clearly they're trying to make a little extra money out of you. That's a huge red flag, and in some places that's actually illegal practice. That's definitely, at the very least, it's a substandard activity. And you know what, a lot of these dealers I would clearly run away from. Why is that a thing? Because generally speaking, if you're accepting an interest rate through that manufacturer, through that OEM or that dealership, that's dealt actually directly through a bank. They have their own lending institutions that even those dealers deal with. They often don't have a lot of their own financial resources, so they do reach out to a lot of independent loaning operations. And clearly, you're either going to get that loan or you're not going to get that loan. What's your credit score? Are you subprime or are you a prime lender or borrower? And if all the criteria is there, and that bank is willing to give you the loan for that vehicle, it should have no impact on whether you buy extended warranty, whether you buy any kind of add-ons like floor mats, paint protection film, tint, extra set of wheels. None of that should have any tie or connection to the fact that you're actually taking out that interest rate. So that interest rate should be approved, pre-approved beforehand, directly whatever the bank's willing to get you, and it should have no relation. So that's clearly a huge red flag. If you see that, if you hear that commentary, you can call them out on it, but basically I wouldn't even bother. Take a hike, find another dealer. Another huge red flag that I've seen this year, in my opinion, it's some shady operating practices. Clearly, I personally went into a car dealer this year. I went and looked at some C8 Corvettes that this dealership locally was selling. But they didn't sell it directly from the manufacturer where you have your sticker price and you pay your sticker. No, you could order it online and get it that way, but usually have to wait. a lot of these local dealers, and this one specifically, would bring the vehicle in, title it themselves, and then they could adjust the price anywhere they want. They would bring in a Z06, and they had two of them on their floor, and they were asking $250,000 for these cars. Absolutely 100K over MSRP. They even had a Stingray. I walked in and I said, how much for that Stingray? Then they said, well, normally we're asking about $145,000, but you know what? Make us an offer. Well, then I went home later and I actually checked out. I punched it in. I went directly to Chevy Canada website, and I build your own. I took the same list of specifications from that build sheet I got from that car, and I could build that car for my own for $105,000. So all they did was cramp up all kinds of crusty prices, and they're fattening up their margins intently. So clearly those are red flags. But the big red flag is I then actually wanted to go for a test drive. They had a demo sitting outside, and I had my son with me. And I literally just wanted to take him out for a drive, test a Corvette. I was actually debating trading in one of my cars on this new Corvette. And then the salesperson went away for 15 minutes, came back, took a photocopy of my driver's license, but then said, look, here's the deal. Talk to the manager. And the manager says that if the salesperson comes with me, then it shouldn't be a problem. We can go out, take it for a spin around the block. But if you have to take your son with you, then you're going to have to put a deposit, $5,000 deposit holding, just in case something happens to the car. That's just shady practice. I understand there's probably dealers that have been hard done by people out doing joyriding. I get the premise and kind of the background to why that probably happens, but that's shady practice no less. And as soon as that happened, that turned me off right away. I took the car out for a drive with the salesperson anyway, and then after that, looked elsewhere because I don't appreciate those types of shady practices. And quite frankly, that didn't instill a lot of trust in me. So why should I trust you to give me a good deal? I just walked away. Thanks, sayonara. And another red flag that I actually encountered a couple of times where, you know, maybe they profile. I come into the dealership, I'm wearing a hat on backwards, I got my blue jeans on, coming from work. And you know what? They asked me the question, hey, you want to test drive this vehicle? But wait a minute, we need a credit application first. Let's fill that out. Let's get that on the table. And then absolutely, I would love to take you out for a drive. And then we can go out, take it for a spin, and tell us what you think and how much you enjoy this great new whatever vehicle. I actually had that experience personally. And you should never actually have to fill out a credit application. A lot of times it's profiling, or they don't put faith in you, or they probably believe that they don't necessarily trust that you have the funds or financing or backing to be able to buy that vehicle, and they're essentially calling you out. They're weaning out the people that they believe maybe aren't serious. But again, shady practices. You should never have to put in a credit application. Remember, every time you apply for credit checks and all of that, you often does have a little bit of a toll on your credit rating. But regardless, it should never matter. You should never have to prove your finances, your credit score to any of these dealers unless you're at that point where you're finally putting down the credit card and you're ready to sign on the dotted line after and only after you're satisfied with the price of the vehicle, you've done the test drive, you've had your pre-purchase inspection if it needed because it was a used vehicle, and all other factors were in place and you finally felt you're in a place to pull the trigger, then and only then should you actually apply for that credit. Clearly, it's one of those red flags. If dealers are doing that, it's just shady practice, and I would clearly run away from that type of dealer, go somewhere else, because few dealers do that. But I've encountered a couple that have. And another big red flag to me is just more shady practices. And a lot of this, again, speaks to the shady operation of some dealers while others are perfectly fine. And basically what we're talking about are when dealers actually, they get to the point where you're negotiating and they come at you with some other numbers, some add-ons. So here's the price of the vehicle. You're kind of getting a number where you kind of want to be. And then this personally happened to me. I was actually shopping. I looked at a slightly used vehicle here, actually this last week, sat down and they wrote on their AMVIC fees and glass etching. And then they gave me a total of $800. And I said, I'm not paying $800 for that crap. I said, first of all, I don't want glass etching. That's a choice you made. Second of all, AMVIC is a dealer operational cost. It's basically $625 fee that the dealer is on the hook for. I should never have to pay for that on a slightly used vehicle. Remember, used vehicle we're talking about here. And this dealer was trying to slap me with these fees. And I said, you know what? No, I'm good. And then the salesperson actually brought over a manager. The manager tried to justify it. And I said, yeah, that's cool. I'm good. I'm not paying for that. Sayonara. You know, interestingly enough, an hour later, I received a text. Thanks, Mark, for coming in. Appreciate your business. Give it some thought. How are you feeling about the vehicle? And then at the very bottom, they said, you know what, regarding that Amvic and glass etching, I understand you weren't that excited about it. We are willing to waive that for you, especially for you. So I felt like, wow, what a glorious move. These people are so nice. Not. Clearly another huge red flag. And I actually have another bonus red flag that I'd personally utilize as a little bit of that gut check, seat of the pants feel. And it really has to do with record keeping. And, a lot of these dealers, they tend to keep records, whether you have a Carfax, because they all run Carfaxes. You can't tell me a dealer that runs a reputable business does not have access to the Black Book, CarProof. They actually have memberships. They can pull that up at any time and it doesn't really cost them any more. So if you go into a dealership and they seem to stumble around, and I've personally experienced this on a used car I was shopping for about 6 months ago, and I asked for a Carfax. I said, yeah, we'll get that for you. And I go in there and I'm looking at the car and they're distracting me, and I ask for it again. Oh yeah, the manager's checking for it. And this time went on, and by the time 2 days of talks and negotiations over this vehicle, they still never came up with the Carfax. I mean, yes, I can pull a Carfax, but it cost me $60. But the dealer should always have that on hand. So clearly a dealer that's shying away from providing Carfaxes or service records or any of that history, again, remember, pre-purchase inspection should flush out a lot of those things, which is why you want to do that elsewhere at a third independent type shop. But clearly not providing some of the other facts, whether there's liens, whether there's accident history or flood damage, or whether in fact it has service history that is less than palatable, are clearly red flags if they're not willing to show you that, or they beat around the bush to the nth degree before they actually give it to you. So clearly another huge bonus red flag I want to share with you. So again, I hope everybody enjoyed that. If you're out there shopping, don't get hosed by those greasy dealers. Make sure you stick with the reputable ones, find out who those are, and just deal with them directly. Right there, be sure to check out there what's going on with that truck market. It's actually collapsing because of these overpriced vehicles. Hope to see each and every one of you in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.